Jay Bilas said what?
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. We're back for another episode. My name is Jaron. Check me out on Athlon Sports. That is Landon. Make sure to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, X, all the good places. I did just find out we are creating a new Facebook account. So that one that's on there right now, that will not be there anymore. So once that is up, we will definitely let you guys know. But like and share and subscribe our videos on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. But Landon, we got to get into this. Jay Bilas said some interesting things when it was announced that Mississippi State would be in the tournament and be the number 8 seed. What did you think about it?
Well, I thought he listened to our Monday show, honestly, after hearing that quote. He's just taking our takes away. But no, I mean, he's spot on with what he said. He says they have Josh Hubbard, who is a bucket getter and a really good guard. Cameron Matthews is one of the more versatile players in the country. They're going to be very difficult to deal with. Both of us could not agree more with him.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because we talked about this in depth on Monday and why we thought it was a really good matchup against Baylor for Mississippi State. Now we have the issue with the Duke one, both of us. We're not really picking them to beat Duke, but 100%. When you have a guard like that, like Josh Hubbard, and you have an all-around player like Cameron Matthews, you're going to be difficult to deal with for a lot of teams in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. And I mean, we went so in depth to it. It's hard. I feel like I'm repeating myself with everything I say. I mean, especially if Hubbard gets hot. When he gets hot, he's a bucket getter. You let them start to get buckets, it's hard to stop them from getting buckets. And with Cameron Matthews, he's the guy who stops the other team's bucket getter. So, I mean, when you have those two types of players, there's a reason Bilas gets a lot of money.
Right. And while they don't have big inside presence, they have it good enough to make a run. And we talked about Baylor not really having a true center. They play more guards and forwards, and they play more small ball. And so that also helps Mississippi State out. Maybe they can take advantage of some size that helps them out with their off the bench play. But when you have a guard like Josh Hubbard, and like Landon said, I feel like we're repeating ourselves because Bilas hit it the nail right on the head. When you have a guard like that, he can take you on a ride through the tournament. You're on his own. We saw Carson Edwards do that with Purdue.
Yeah.
Now you can argue these other teams that have done it. They might be overall more talented. Who knows? But we talked about Max Amos on Monday from Oral Roberts, and then went to Texas, obviously. But we see these small guards and that's why we love March Madness. You see these guys, these small guards, and obviously we as Mississippi State fans and cover Mississippi State, like, we know Josh Hubbard, but the nation doesn't really know him. And so that's why I'm saying these guys kind of come out of nowhere and make big statements. And anytime you're second team SEC, especially with how tough the conference is this year, Bilas has already made the argument that it might be the best conference of all time. And you're second team in that conference. You're a good basketball player.
Yeah, you are. And Cameron Matthews is first team all defense
in
that conference. So, I mean, you're coming at it with those two. And I was kind of looking all over today. Everyone's posting there. Oh, these are the players that could surprise people. These are the players that are going to come out of nowhere. Hubbard's not listed on any of those. So I think there's a lot of people who are missing an easy one to put on that list that is really going to surprise some people once this gets going. And I'm really excited to watch him play. Now that we've been talking about it, I mean, we've been talking about it longer than 3 days, but
We've
been hearing it for 3 days, and now I'm just ready for it to get going. Watch him fill it up. I think he's going to do it. I'd talk myself into not a if, it's a win.
Right. And we kind of broke down his numbers the last, I believe it was 8 games when we did the podcast on Monday, and he had a great SEC tournament. He's playing really good basketball at the right time. And Mississippi State, while as a team they're struggling, there's obviously some really good opponents in the SEC, and that plays a big part in the struggle. And so I think it's just going to be good to play someone new. It's kind of like in football when they talk about, you're so ready for the season starts because you're just playing the same, your guys over and over, and you're just tired of it. You're ready to play someone new. I feel like that's how the SEC is. It's so much of a grind this year that you're just ready to play someone else because it will feel almost like a break, even though Baylor's a good team. And then all these teams in the NCAA tournament are good teams, but it will feel like a break because you don't have to play the SEC teams every single game.
Yeah, and it's going to be a team that, while, yes, they know about Hubbard from the stats and from the highlights, they don't know him like these SEC teams who have been playing him for 2 years know him. So it's going to be a break from him on being able to pull out some of those tricks to get open, to make those buckets.
Well, and they know him, and they still can't stop him, the SEC teams, because he's still second team all SEC. So now you got to play a team that doesn't know him. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying I can't wait to watch it. That's all.
Yeah. Now, before we go to the break, I did want to bring this up because I thought it was really funny. So Quinshon Judkins, who's running back, was Ole Miss, that hated team here at Mississippi State. And obviously he transferred to Ohio State and then won a national championship, which made it a little sweeter. He released his bracket, and not only did he have Mississippi State winning, he has Ole Miss losing in the first round. So that might bring some happiness to some Mississippi State fans.
Some hard feelings for how he left.
Yes, definitely. He definitely does. And then I also saw Seth Davis from CBS Sports. He has Mississippi State beating Baylor and then obviously losing to Duke, kind of what we like too. But a lot of the people that I've seen talk about Mississippi State really think they're one of those dangerous teams that can make a run, kind of like how we talked. Not quite ready to pick them over Duke just yet, but they think that's a team that if you picked a Cinderella, they could be that Cinderella.
Oh, yeah, definitely, especially if Cooper Flagg is not playing for Duke. I think that opens the door. I mean, it's cracked already, but if he's out, it's a little bit more wide open. I mean, but even if he plays, I think they could beat him. I mean, they're the type of team that makes a run every year. There's one team that does it, and they're built like the team that normally makes the run.
Yeah, they definitely can do it. All right, coming up next, the NCAA tournament was obviously big for Mississippi State to get into, but it was also big for their head coach. We'll talk about it coming up. Well, scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time with Upwork. You can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day with multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork helps find affordable top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. And life moves fast, especially when you have a family. One day you're watching your kids take their first steps, and before you know it, they're off to college. That's why securing their future is so important. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get term life insurance that fits your family's needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance online right from your couch. You can be covered in under 10 minutes, and in many cases, no health exam is required. As a parent, you want to make sure your family is financially protected no matter what happens. Fabric gives you that peace of mind. You can get $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day, so protecting your loved ones doesn't have to break the bank. Fabric also offers free digital wills and access to investment accounts to help you plan for your children's future. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. All right, Landon, we just teased it. We got a big extension for the head coach of the Arkansas Razorback, the Mississippi State Bulldogs. We got a huge extension from Chris Jans. Now, this was part of them making the NCAA tournament. They received an automatic 1-year extension and $100,000 raise each time they make the tournament. And, he's done that in 3 straight years. I saw this. This is interesting. This stat that it comes from Hail State Muse over on Twitter, so you can check him out. Chris Jans joins John Calipari, Bruce Pearl, and Tubby Smith as the only 4 coaches in SEC history to win 21 games or more and reach the NCAA tournament in each of their first 3 seasons. To contextualize this further, this is 4 out of 355 total head coaches in the history of SEC men's basketball. So pretty good.
It seems good. Is it good?
It seems good.
I mean, anytime you're on a list with those 3 names, you're doing something
right. Yeah. I mean, and those are Hall of Fame type coaches, you know. So, and it's crazy that they talk about that's the history of SEC basketball, and that's a long history, an illustrious history of the conference
history.
Yeah, I mean, and you've had obviously 2 of those coaches did coach at Kentucky. The other one coached at Tennessee, and obviously is at Auburn now, doing a really good job. But Kentucky has had a long history of excellence. So you would think maybe many coaches of theirs would have done that. But there's also been some really good programs. Tennessee, Rick Barnes is a great coach, and surprised that he didn't do that or hasn't done that. So what do you think that means for them, I guess, moving forward? Obviously, the contract extension is well-deserved.
Yes.
And it was built into his contract, as it should be. I think most coaches deserve that. But, yeah, what do you think about it moving forward? There's always that worry that, maybe this guy will leap away. He does not seem like a guy that's going to be.
It doesn't seem like he's going to be leaving. And what this means to me is by doing that, and we're seeing the fruits of the labor with the players that are on the roster now, he just has to keep building it. I mean, and he's in the toughest place to try to build something right now, but he's built a good foundation. He's here. And as long as he stays here, I mean, I think this is kind of the floor now.
Yeah.
Like, I really think that's what this means. With him staying and what they have, I mean, this is just the beginning.
Well, and they hit a home run with this hire. I mean, I'm looking at it's the first time they've made 3 straight appearances in the NCAA tournament since 2003, 2005. His 63 wins are the most in program history for a coach through their first 3 seasons. So it's just been an absolute home run of a hire. And they kind of have the contract details in here at the Clarion Ledger. It will increase his salary to $4.4 million for next season. That salary will keep increasing by $100,000 through March 2028. Then his salary jumps to $5.45 million through the 28-29 season and $5.55 million through the 2029-2030 season. So it seems like you have this home run of a hire as a head coach, and now you got to back him. And that's one thing I want to really push forward, because I've seen this with so many teams, especially teams in the SEC and conferences that are typically football heavy and football focused.
Oh, yeah.
You don't really think about basketball, and you kind of push it to the side. Obviously, the traditional powers in basketball, like Kentucky, they put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah.
But we see teams kind of push basketball to the side, and I understand why. Football is the moneymaker, don't get me wrong, but basketball is the second moneymaker, and if you've got a great coach, you got to run with it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of money to be made in basketball, and you have to back him. Boosters need to back him. Every NIL money needs to be funneled to the basketball program. I mean, you look at, I think that's going to be a big thing, not to get too off topic with NIL, but I mean, going forward, the way we see football players jumping, I think that's the next step. Is you're going to see those late first round picks are going to be offered more than they'd make in the NBA and are going to stick around longer.
Right.
And so that's going to be a huge thing, is NIL funneling money to keep players like Hubbard around, not let him chase a payday. So, I mean, as long as they keep backing basketball and you keep Jans in the building, like I said, I think this is the floor now. I think there's only place to go but up. Just have to keep building the program. And he's done a fantastic job through his first years here. And I can't wait to see what happens next, as long as, stays together.
Yeah, and the one thing we talked about on Monday, this is a very veteran team. They got 3 seniors within the top 6 in scoring. The other 2 are juniors, and then the other one is obviously Hubbard as a sophomore. There was a great article. I wish I could remember. I'll have to look up where it was at, but about Hubbard this week, about him being from Mississippi and how much it means for him and all that. And it was a really good article. But they're going to be a team that probably has to be kind of somewhat heavy in the portal because you're losing some valuable seniors, and you're probably going to lose someone to the portal you don't expect. That's just kind of the reality of it nowadays.
Right.
You hope you don't, but it's probably the route it's going to go. And I've seen some very prominent analysts say that he thinks Mississippi State will be very active in the portal. And so that's something that is just now the way of college basketball. But when you got that, and really college sports in general, but when you have that coach that it seems like he wants to be there, he's doing a great job, obviously, like we just said, first time since 03 through 05, they made 3 straight tourneys. You got to do whatever to keep him, because otherwise those big schools that do care about basketball, they're going to throw a lot of money at him, and then you're not going to be able to keep him at that point. And so the best way to keep these guys is to make sure that he knows you have our full support. We are not just football focused. Yes, we do want our football team to be really good and better because that drives a lot of money, but we're not just football focused. You have our support, and you got to show that.
No, you have to. And if you don't back him and he goes out the door, then all these players he brought in, they're the ones leaving next. I mean, you're not – I mean, it's just a cyclical thing. You see it everywhere. Even – I mean, you saw it before the transfer portal, but now that it's so easy to leave, it's worse. I mean, a new coach comes in and you're surprised when players stay.
Right. And that's the sad part about college athletics right now. All right, coming up next, Deion Sanders made some interesting comments about spring games, but how does that relate to Mississippi State? We'll talk about it coming up.
Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. I mean, I think we all realize that when we actually stop and look at how often we order food. And now I budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan for long-term goals. And managing your money with your partner is smoother than ever before. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year.
The NCAA Tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown. Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA Tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup. Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free. It's your team every day.
Make sure to continue listening to all of our college basketball coverage. We'll have that ad at the end. But remember, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Check us out on social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We're on all those. Like, subscribe. Wherever you listen to your podcast, we're there too. But all right, Landon. So Coach Prime has made a statement, and I want to make sure I get this right.
Coach Prime made a statement?
Yeah, I know, right? But this one was actually a really good one. I thought it was a great idea. So he said, quote, "I would actually like to play the spring game against another team in the spring. That's what I'm trying to do right now." And then he said he would like it to style it like the pros. He'd like to go against someone in practice for a few days, and then you have the spring game. He said he thinks the public would be satisfied with that tremendously. He thinks it's a tremendous idea. He's told those personnel who should understand that it's a tremendous idea. And I think it is a tremendous idea. Now, it's technically illegal right now with the NCAA rules. And I saw Syracuse coach Fran Brown responded on Twitter, said he would definitely come to Colorado for 3 days and do something like that. But we talked about yesterday, I believe it was, when we talked about the spring game possibly going away. This could be a way to save it.
Yeah, it could. And, it's college football. When has something being against NCAA rules stopped anyone before?
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. There's a lot of logistics, and there's going to be a lot of those teams where, you don't want to get beat in your spring game, even if you're, everyone knows it's a scrimmage, but you don't want to have someone come to your house and beat you up in a spring game. So there's going to be a lot of, I don't know, contract negotiations for how long starters play, who does what, all of that. But I think it's a great idea if they can work out how to do it.
Right. I do too. And that brings to question, who would be the ideal opponent for Mississippi State? I think, a lot of people are going to think, immediately the big opponent. I'll play Ole Miss. And it's like, we already play them every year.
You don't want to do that.
That's not something you want to do. But I also think travel will have to be in the mindset. Like, that's the one thing about Syracuse coming all the way to Colorado that I'm like, I don't know about that one. That's a long travel. That I don't know if that could be sustainable. But them announcing that they would do it, I think, was big, because then it gets the ball rolling a little bit. But I think like maybe a Southern Miss, that kind of, maybe y'all do you would have to make it beneficial for both teams. And so maybe you do I don't know if you have to do a spring game at Mississippi State and then some kind of fan event with Southern Miss people that you're at, or you do, spring game at Mississippi State this year, next year you do it at Southern Miss, something like that, just to make it kind of beneficial so the Southern Miss fans can also see it and be a part of it. Now, because it's in Mississippi, it's not a super long drive or anything. So that's one thing about making it close that would help going forward. But I think if you did something like that, then that would be great. I also saw someone tweet that that's where the FCS game should take place. Yeah. You pay them a lot of money to come. Now, he was saying that it needs to count towards the record, and I don't agree with that, because that's in the spring. That's not your team yet, and there's a lot of stuff. But that could be your FCS. You pay them a bunch of money to come practice with you, and then you play against them. The only issue with that is the talent level is so off. That is your team really getting better, or is it just more beneficial for them? But yeah, I think like a Southern Miss or someone like that wanted to come and you did that. I think that would work out well.
Yeah, I definitely think it has to be regional, and you don't want it to be like your rival or someone you play almost every year or every 3 years. I think another way to do it is you get those interconference matchups that are just never going to happen. Yeah. Like maybe you schedule Miami or something like that. You get to see, because Miami and Mississippi State are never going to schedule each other, and if they do, it's going to be in 2078, and they're probably all a part of one conference at that time.
Right.
Right. I think that's a way to do it. And then you do charge, but then you get the problem with that is like, because college football is a business, which took forever for everyone to admit, they're going to start jacking up the prices to spring games. It's going to become another thing. But you do charge, you split the gate between the two teams. Maybe you do a home and home. 1 year it's at one stadium, 1 year it's the next. But I think that would be another thing to do. You kind of get those marquee matchups or big names traveling to different schools that they're just not going to otherwise. And they might be more open to doing it because there's no real downside. Like you're playing you're practicing against another very talented team, and it doesn't matter if you lose.
Right. And maybe you could like one half of the outside the stadium, that's your Mississippi State fan experience. On the other half is the Southern Miss, the Miami, like you mentioned, fan experience. And so both teams can kind of have some fun and do some fans interaction stuff. So it's not just one-sided like a typical road game would be. Right. But yeah, no, I actually love the idea. I think it makes so much sense. And that's exactly why I think the NCAA is not going to allow it because it makes too much sense. But if you don't want spring games to go away, I feel like that's got to be your answer, because in that point, you're not worried about the tampering, because and like we said, tampering already happens all the time. But this will make it where you're also getting to quote unquote tamper, because you're seeing this other team play in person and stuff like that you wouldn't normally play. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and they can always just open a legal tampering period like the NFL did. I mean. I think this is the way you save the spring game. Otherwise, teams are just going to go to the glorified practice with the autograph signing. Right. This definitely would drive up a lot of interest, and it would get people hyped up if in April you're like, man, I got this $10 ticket to go wherever to see my team play. It's going to be. I think it'd be a great thing. It's just the logistics of it become challenging.
Yeah, and you could like half the money for tickets go to Mississippi State's NIL, the other half goes to Southern Miss or Miami's NIL, whatever. That could make it interesting. But all right, well, thank you for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On College Basketball with Isaac Shade and Andy Patton.
Yes.
March is here, so be the most informed college basketball fan throughout the madness. Find Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. I'm Jaron. That's Landon. Check out my work on Athlon Sports. Also, follow us on Twitter. We'll be tweeting out, especially during March Madness when that gets underway. We'll be posting, obviously, daily YouTube content here. So like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And then follow us on all of our platforms where you can listen to your podcast. We're on all of it.
We're just waiting for you to find us.
Yeah, come find us. Come hang out. And also, comment some stuff. Who's the ideal spring game opponent you would like to see? Is there something you want us to talk about? Let us know. But until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.